adrenal glands, dissolve any type of fear energies. Fear of success are now being dissolved, disintegrated, extracted, expelled, and so forth. The liquid divine energy is going down to your basic chakra, going into your basic chakra. Any poverty consciousness thoughts are now dissolved, disintegrated, extracted, expelled, and so forth. So be it. Your basic chakras are cleansed. So be it. Just be still. Om. 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 Notice when you cross your own disintegrate, extract, expect, or something. Be still. Om. Energies cross the river, just disintegrate, just be receptive. Let the energy soak in your system. Be still. May you be blessed by God. And just a prosperity, with the abundance and prosperity and the wisdom to yourself. So just be still. Be receptive. Repeat after me. I completely, permanently, gratefully accept, absorb, assimilate all the divine healing energies and the prosperity energies on all levels. In full faith. So be it. Om. Amen. Amin. Tatastu. And it is. Raise your hands in blessing. You always want to share. So visualize your family and all the people you love. Flood them with golden light.
Hey, everybody.
Blessed with good health, good happiness.
Master Co was running over a little bit late. He's just finishing up.
We'll all be blessed with peace, love, and happiness. So, any healthcare givers, a lot of them are working very hard to help so many people. Flood them with divine healing energy, with divine guidance and divine protection. So fill them with golden light.
All right, let me see if I can find. There it is. There's the YouTube. And turn that off. And Buddha, Buddha, Buddha. Pop out the chat. I don't know why, but that made me think of money in the chat. Pop out the chat. Go to live chat. And drag this puppy over to StreamYard. Find StreamYard. Now find the chat. There we go. And then I want to do, let's see, how do I do this? And then pin the message. Woot! I did it. I am learning. And how are you doing? How is everybody doing? Hey, Vivian. I'm glad to see you here. I'm glad to see now that I have the glasses on. Hey, Brother Paul. I'm glad you're here. I see Daniel's here. And Vivian. Mwah, everybody. I love you. I am doing great. It's been an interesting few days, and so today I am over in StreamYard so that we can, whoever wants to come up, it could be me. I mean, I haven't seen any of the little swirls on my screen yet. That does not mean. Let me see if I close a few windows. Okay, that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to click the button. Oh. Okay. Well, so much for that. That. And I think I saved that. But I'm not sure. And then I'll go back and finish that up later. Is it any better? I know that YouTube's video is slower than, well, let's see, how do I word that? So StreamYard lags on the chat, and YouTube lags on the video when you're watching from, when you're doing this through StreamYard. Trying to see. Let's try that. Did that make any difference? No, it doesn't change anything. Okay, baby girl. So, who wants to be the first to come up and tell me how they did this week for their gratitude challenge? I'm listening. I'm going to pick on somebody. Like, how about, let's see, I don't see Angela, and I wouldn't subject her to coming live yet because I have to show her how to do that. Hey, Ashley, thank you so very much. How are you doing, sweet soul? There's my son. How you doing, OG? Ooh, device is not, there's that. I see it. And drum roll, please. We can talk. Ta-da! Welcome, brother. Welcome.
Thank you.
How are you?
Yeah, I figured I'd be the first one. I'd be your guinea pig.
Yeah, well, you know what? I was thinking of you anyway.
Since we're going to be doing a show together anyway, might as well be the guinea pig.
So, real quick, everybody, if you missed it, Monday night I gave a challenge to everyone to make a little list of the things that they were grateful for themselves, though. Your life, yes, but like your body, your health, your mind, your breath, your heartbeat, whatever. But you needed to make a list. And then, good job, Buddha. I'm glad. I hope this is better. And then on Tuesday morning when you woke up, you were supposed to, before you ever even sat up from bed, you were supposed to get in touch with yourself and then state what you were grateful for. Say thank you. So I do in the mornings. I'll lay there and I'll be so very thankful and grateful and say thank you to my heart and thank you to my breath, thank you to my mind, because I still have one. Of course, so we always said if you don't mind, it doesn't matter. So
that's where mine is. Doesn't matter.
Hey there. How are you doing, Amanda? Thank you for coming. And thank you, everybody, for the thumbs up. I appreciate that. Oh, there you go. I can see you better now. I thought you were like, what was that character? Oh, I can't remember. Kirby was here or something like that. Showed the, oh, it was the nose. That was it. Never mind. So, Brother Paul,
I
you
did
got
not
the
make a list. I already know everything I'm thankful for.
okay. So go for it.
I'm thankful of my sister and her boys, but because they help me, and my sister is teaching me to control my anger better through meditation, and then I'm thankful I found you to learn even more from, and I'm thankful for everybody that's in my YouTube family. But I'm thankful that my spirit is getting stronger, my will is getting stronger, and my meditation is getting stronger.
Wonderful, wonderful. Were you doing every morning before getting out of bed, touching in with yourself to do that gratitude?
I always do that.
Good. See, that's why you're number one. I needed somebody to pick on.
Yeah, might as well. I think
Well,
the next one should be OG.
yeah, because he was there for that. So was Charlotte. Where is Charlotte?
So I'll step down so some.
No, not yet, not yet, not yet. One more thing.
Well,
Yeah, I'm putting you on the spot. Either that or I'll call you back up later. Your choice. You want to come back later?
I'm going to step down so somebody else can come up and tell and say what they're thankful for, and stuff.
And then I can bring you up later.
Anytime.
Okay, good. Gotcha.
Okay.
OG, are you still here? Did you already vanish? And where's my Charlotte? And when you come up, you do not have to, you could use your avatar. You do not have to put your bright and shiny face up. But anybody else want to come up and share their week of gratitude? That's wonderful, Amanda. You know that is my second daughter's name. I have 5 daughters. So I can't say middle daughter because in a way there's 3 middle daughters. Or there's 2 end daughters and 1 middle. I don't know. I don't know how it works. How about Buddha or Prince Daniel? Come on up and share your Ashley, share your gratitude, what it is that you're grateful for. What did you learn about yourself? How did your day change or your week changed? How is today different than Monday night when you were given this challenge? And it brings up a lot of things when you go through it because you realize things that you maybe cut yourself off from, that you put yourself down about. And so it's a struggle to say that you're grateful for things when you really don't feel it. Like it's not curling your toes. Absolutely. Oh, I have a ton of love, my little girl. I have a ton of love. Welcome to the family. You know what? I don't need to see my mug. So I am going to move this up. And okay. And then I'm taking this to the middle of the screen because it's so much easier. My neck gets a little when I have to keep turning and looking. And then I'm looking down here to talk instead of looking here to talk. So this is easier. See, I am learning. I will be a YouTuber one of these days when I'm grown. Oh, cool. Absolutely wonderful. So, Buddha, what are you grateful for? What about you? It's just like electricity. You don't need to know how electricity works to turn the light on or turn the light off. Okay. Do you want to come up and like I said, you don't have to, you can just do an avatar. If you want to come up and talk, you're more than welcome to speak and say what your heart desires. Oh, my phone finally charged. It's only taken all day. That is so beautiful. That is so beautiful, Amanda. This exercise that we've been doing for the last 30 days has been about unconditional love. Unconditional love for ourselves, because we are worthy, and unconditional love for the planet, and unconditional love for our neighbors, unconditional love for our countrymen, for the community of Earth, for the seen and unseen. You know, the peanut gallery doesn't need to participate right now. Oh, Char just got too excited earlier. OG, I'll tell you now, if she forgot, Paul and I both told her that you could give her our number. So I figured I'd just put that out there. But if you want to come up after you're done eating, hint, hint, I can bat my eyes, kind of. Never could do that. How do they do that? They just flutter. Okay, great. I pinned it to the top. See, I know that much. I've learned quite a bit. I am proud of myself. There's an interesting, what do I want to call it? I give to a lot of my clients, I will give homework. And I will honestly say that 90% never do it. Okay, that's all right, Buddha. No worries. Don't be sorry, sweetheart. You could just type and, we know you're no mom. But anything else, I want to know about what you're grateful for of you, yourself, your beauty, your honesty, your wit, your openness, your bravery. So much. But so back to the lesson. And this is for everybody here, since we're all part and parcel of this family. It's the mirror exercise. And I've been giving it out. It's because you weren't meant to go anywhere. You were meant to be here. There are no accidents. There are no, what's the word? coincidences. It's all synchronicity. We are at the right place at the right time. Just because something is uncomfortable doesn't mean that we aren't meant to experience it. It might be to wake us up, to shake us up, to give us confirmation, to allow us to be there for somebody else. So I am very grateful for all the times that you survived. People would be surprised how many times that has crossed their path. So the exercise, mirror exercise. You want a mirror, any mirror, all your mirrors, every chance you get a mirror. And you have to look yourself in the eye and say, with the absolute most genuine and sincere honesty that you can fake, I love you, Michelle, or I love you, Amanda. You say your name. It has to be your name. You can't just say I love you. It doesn't work. It doesn't hit that chord. But you have to have that eye-to-eye contact. And the reason why I say fake it is because oh yeah, I love myself. But then when you get down to it, you find all these little actions and things that say, no, you don't. You don't feel worthy. You don't feel worthy of that new job. You don't feel worthy of that new house. You don't feel worthy of that relationship. You don't feel worthy about bettering your education, bettering your circumstances. You don't feel worthy about whatever, fill in the blank. When I did this exercise, I can't tell you how long ago it was, years ago. My husband, as a musician, we had weird hours. So my sleep was always very erratic anyway. But we also have a music studio here. And so he'd leave our house. He'd go next door to mom and dad's for coffee. Then he'd go out to the music studio, and that's where he lived. And he may leave the music studio at 10 o'clock at night. He may leave it at 4 o'clock in the morning. That was it. He was maybe kind of vampirish that, he never came out in the sun. Of course, so he did. I just never saw him because while I'm in the house, I don't see him. He doesn't come in to see me. And so I had started doing this exercise. And I did everything wrong because, like, all of my clients would do it the same way. It's like, oh yeah, I love myself. I don't need to do this. And it's like, yeah, you do, because you'll find out something completely different once you get into it. I did it one day, and I think I said, I love you, Michelle. I love you, Michelle. I love you, Michelle. And then that was it. And I turned around and I left. And I didn't do it again for weeks. I don't even know how long it was. And then one day it was like, oh yeah, forgot about that. And then I went and I did it again and again, rapid fire, get it over and done with, and out. And then again, more weeks transpired. Passed by, lost opportunities. Life went on. I kept going on. I kept doing everything I needed to do. And then one day it kind of came to me. If I go and I spend $1,000 on a year's membership for a gym, and there are days that I just don't feel like working out, I don't want to get dressed, I don't want to have to go there at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I just, whatever the reasons were, it's like, spend all that money, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go do it. I will make myself do it, even if I don't want to, because the goal was for improving health, improving whatever, getting my strength up, all of those different things. And so when I realized that, it's like, So then if I'm trying to improve myself on the inside, because if you want to change anything in your life, it doesn't matter if it means you want to change your home circumstance, you want to change your um, relationship circumstances, you want to change your work circumstances, all of these things, you got to start inside. No matter how much effort you put on the outside, if you don't change it on the inside, that means even if you've got a partner that isn't much of a partner, you can't change them, but you change you on the inside, they will change in relation to you. It'll just all of a sudden one day happen and you'll kind of like, whoa, where'd that come from? So, because of the epiphany that I got to do the work, I got to really put effort into this. I still did it, and I'll be honest, half-assed, because I would only say it 3 or 4 times. I didn't try to rush through it, but I'd say it 3 or 4 times, and then I'd go about my business. And then if I'm in the bathroom putting toilet paper in, or fresh towels, or picking up the dirty towels, or washing the sink, or I would take time to stop and say it again. So I may do it 4 or 5 times during the day, but I still was doing it in very short bursts. And I wasn't racing it, so I was better that way. Anyway, so this is the way it transpired for, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 weeks maybe. I don't know how long it took, because I just did it. If I was in the car, I'd reposition the rearview mirror long enough to say it, and then drive where I needed to go. But I started noticing little things in my life. And then I had the day of what I call my epiphany. And remember, I said that my hubby was off and in the studio all the time. And then if he was out performing, he still wasn't getting home till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. So it was just, that was the way life had been since 91. So anyway, I had a session with myself, and I was doing the usual, but instead of 3 or 4 times, I kept going, and I kept going, and I kept going, and I kept going, and I never let go of my eyes. I always held on to my own gaze. I was looking into my heart, into my soul. I was speaking to me as if I would be speaking to you and sitting across from you. After however many times that I repeated it, could have been 30, could have been 20, I don't know, I started to get weepy, and I was feeling like getting a little choked up. And as a body therapist, I know about body signs. Like when the body is making a change or something, when there's resistance, certain things show up, and it's coming from the body, not from you and your mind. And so when I was experiencing that choking on my words, it was okay, pushed through that, and I kept going. And then now, the tears are getting worse. And so it went from, just weepy to full-blown out crying to just a hard jag, but I never stopped saying it. And then I started to notice a pain in my chest, a physical pain, which science has proven. Hey, Vivian, you have a sweet night, baby girl. But science has proven that there are certain fibers in the heart that will stretch when you're having that heartbreak, when that emotional upheaval or tearing of the tissues kind of goes on, that will stretch and it will cause a physical pain. But anyway, I was experiencing like my heart was breaking, like I just lost my firstborn, or I broke up with my husband, or, whatever the most tragic, worst thing a mother could feel heartbreak, that I could comprehend. And instead of stopping, I still continued to go through it. And by this time, I looked like a snotty-nosed kid with tears down my face, and just, I was all shiny. And I kept saying, I love you. And I never stopped. Then the shift happened, and it was maybe a minute after the heartbreak. I don't know. It might have even been less. There was no concept of time during this whole thing. Then I started to giggle. And I kept giggling while I was saying it. It's like the heartbreak was the freedom, the release. And I giggled, and then the giggles became laughter. And I still kept saying, I love you, Michelle. And then finally it got to the point that I was laughing so much I couldn't even take a breath. So while holding my gaze, never letting go, I just smiled at me and laughed and laughed and laughed until I could finally breathe. And then I just said, you know what? I really do love you. And cried a little more for a second or two and just laughed with it. And then I was done. And I washed my face. I was all nice and clean again. And I went and I sat on the bed. I was making jewelry. This was somewhere around 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And all of a sudden, I see out of the corner of my eye, my hubby walking into the bedroom. As I said, this is nothing that ever happens. And he's standing there with a cheesy grin. And I just looked up at him kind of annoyed, and it's like, what? And he said, nothing. I just came in to say I love you. And that was within 30 minutes of me stopping my love fest in the bathroom. Hope nobody walks in on that one and thinks, oh my goodness, what's she talking about? But yeah, it was cool, but I did not put the 2 and 2 together. I did not put the fact that I had that breakthrough, that I had that heart and soul connection. And it was strong and unshakable. Didn't put those together. It wasn't until maybe a week, 2 weeks later, I had gone with him to one of his gigs. And I'm usually, if I go there, I take my jewelry stuff with me because I go and I sit in a corner, and as long as there's light. And often. And so, I'm used to the typical routine. Yes, ma'am. Is he performs, I sit at a table, he comes off in his break and he goes and schmoozes with people, and he goes back, and I usually point to him that it's time to get back up there because I'm the band mother. And that's just the normal thing because everybody bowed down to him and his artistry. So I was invisible, and I was used to that. I wasn't expecting anything different, but this day that I went with him, because mind you, I hadn't gone for a long time. So when I went and I'm standing there and he's talking and there's a crowd of people around us and they're all, oh, it's so good to see you and da-da-da-da-da. And then all of a sudden somebody looks at me and goes, oh, you must be Edison's wife. He talks about you all the time. And I just looked at him like he does, because I didn't know that. And people were noticing me for the first time, it seemed. It was just really bizarre. I made beautiful friends that night. I got hugs from strangers. It was just, everything shifted for me. It was amazing. Buddha, everybody goes to the astral plane when they sleep. when you meditate, you can go and do like astral projection. Um, when I was learning meditation at 7, 8, 9, all through those years, that was something that Louise had taught us, was about meditating, and then go somewhere, just imagine yourself flying, walking, driving, whatever, going to somebody's like maybe I'm going to go to your house. I know where you live. I'm going to go there. So I imagine the route I take. And that was how she taught us to learn how to do that, is you go where you're already familiar. Just imagine yourself from point A to point B, and then imagine going into the house and then looking at maybe something in the house and just noticing where things are. And then you could talk to your friend and say, is this sitting here on the table? And maybe they're like, well, yeah, it is. And then it's like, okay, now you know that you did actually make your leap. But it's everything else. It's just takes practice. But that's where the dream plane actually is astral. When you dream, there's several different types of dreams. You probably were. The dreams, some people are kind of uncomfortable with it because anything that is unknown makes them fearful. And, but like I was saying before, I don't know if you were there. That's wonderful. I think that's great that you got to do that. That's being in awareness. And, your brain, you have all these different levels, frequencies, wavelengths, whatever you want to call them. Do I remember the hertz? I don't think so. But high beta is when we are in ultimate stress. And then we have beta, which is kind of it's still stress. But I guess you could say more manageable. It's, I got to get the job done, got to do this. I'm busy with that. But then there's things you could be doing like washing the dishes. And then you go into alpha because it's just kind of, I'm washing the dishes, and stepping through. Theta is dream state. It's also hypnosis. So that's where you can go into self-hypnosis. Like if you are working to quit smoking or to quit eating bread or sugar or chocolate or, whatever. You can work on so many things with self-hypnosis. Self-love, that's another one. Improving your prosperity center. But anything that we aren't familiar with, haven't been exposed to, it's weird. Go to another country and they do things and you're looking at it going, wow, that's weird. Well, it's normal to them. So it's just another point of view. And we have to, I guess, not judge is probably what I would say. Don't judge. Just look at it as, yeah, something different. When we don't maintain a elevated vibration, it's easy to drop. It's kind of like, imagine there's a rope bridge and it's very flexible, and then there's a creek beneath it, and maybe as you're walking, the bridge bounces and you touch down to the water, and then there's other places where it just seems to be very sturdy and you stay up here above the water. And then there's that one spot that you just kind of step in and it goes whoosh right in below the water. You know, you've dropped your frequency. It's easy to just, instead of freaking out, I guess I don't have another term for some reason. Freaking out, I guess, is what I'm going to say. Instead of freaking out about it, just, okay, think of a loving thought that will automatically lift you up. Tiffy, how are you, sweetheart? Love, love, love you. Thank you for showing up and being here. I've been trying to pull teeth on getting anybody else to come up and share what they were grateful for. But we've gotten some wonderful, beautiful gratitude statements in the chat. The emotion of surprise. You know, I would not define surprise as an emotion. I would define surprise as a interruption. It is something that when you're like doing something, your mental state is here, and then all of a sudden something surprises you and you either fall because you're no longer holding that concentration. I consider surprise as a interruption, but not an emotion. Now, your emotions can interrupt you. You can have a complete full body reaction to an old emotion just by remembering a circumstance. Now, I know what you're saying, Amanda, but it's still not an emotion. Yeah. Let yourself be lifted by a memory. Even just in that, when you feel yourself start to slip, just smile. Smiling, believe it or not, when you're meditating, you know, and you're doing the conscious meditation, not a I'm zoned out and I don't know where I am kind of meditation. But smiling will keep your energy and your frequency up. That is a key thing. Sometimes you may notice that I kind of, if I'm doing healing work, I don't know why, it's always just the right corner of my mouth goes up, and I'll feel it just creep and get a little higher, and then I kind of inwardly laugh at myself because I'm aware of that. I don't know, it's bizarre. Yeah, so you always know that I'm kind of going somewhere when that happens. Here's one for you to think about, Amanda. Is feeling always an emotion? I mean, in our speak, we say, I feel sad and I feel happy. But sometimes your awareness of feeling uncomfortable has nothing to do with an emotion. But that uncomfortableness can create an emotion. And then you can create a physical sensation, even a panic attack, by recalling an emotion. And the interesting thing is that your body becomes addicted to the chemicals that emotions create, both positive and negative emotions. Stress, your body becomes addicted to the stress chemicals. And so when you're not even thinking about it, and then all of a sudden your body will go into almost a panic state, and then you're like, I don't know where this is coming from, and then a little bit of fear comes up because the body is creating that emotion to to literally force you into that state of stress so that it gets its fix. And then the body becomes the brain instead of the brain being the one running the show. Is there a reason why you're whining? You were snoring so good when we were meditating. Yeah, I'm talking to you. You're making noise over there. Where's Pip? Those are my shoes. She's in her hole. No, you don't get it now. You gotta wait. I don't know who you're talking to, Buddha, but I'm glad that you like it. Oh. Oh. Now I'm going to blush because that was silly of me. But you know what? I'm good at being silly. Amanda, there's a lot of tools that we get given to us young at very early ages that aren't always good for us when we get older. And the only way you're going to be able to discern that is because I'm silly. I thought maybe you were talking to Tiffy. I don't know. And I didn't want to assume because, so I was silly. Anyway, I am blushing. This is funny. But yeah, Amanda, over the course of time that we get to talk with each other, you'll learn a lot about empowering yourself, about how to remove the old programs, because literally your subconscious mind has been programmed since actually the last 2 months being in the womb. Really, to be honest, since 2 weeks of age, in the 2 weeks, the second week in the in the womb. Thank you. So now let me get my words right here. The heart is fully formed by the second week. The heart has brain cells. It has 40,000 neurites in it. The heart has memory. The heart starts learning from the chemicals that the mother releases. So as early as 2 weeks of pregnancy, you are being programmed from mom. If mom is having a bad day, if mom is raging at dad, if mom is raging at her mom, those chemicals and those reactions will be implanted. They will, because everything, you got to understand that all thoughts, all emotions equate to an energetic imprint and a chemical that the body releases. And so these chemicals are going through mom and then into you. And then, so we have a lot of stuff that we were programmed with 2 weeks into life. It goes very much into how mom feels mentally, emotionally, and I'd add spiritually in there and physically, because all of that plays. And it doesn't mean, everybody's path is different, because there is no one truth. It's your truth, and you have to walk your truth, what you are comfortable with, what you believe, and then be respectful of other people, because their walk may not be the same as yours, but they may offer you something to look at and go, that's interesting, and see how it reflects or deflects. Um, I was talking to Pink today on the phone, and I was telling her that one of the discussions I intend to do with the Coffee, Tea, and Soul that I'll be doing on my channel is I want to do a short series, because there's a book I've been planning to write for 15 years, maybe more. I don't know. And I want to call well, what I intuited was God's name is Bob. And, the premise here is that no matter what scripture you read or what book, language, everybody's personal relationship to their higher source, their divine, whatever name you want to call it, that's their personal connection. And and even in the book it says, I have to read that in a second. I'll lose this train of thought. I think I lost it. Darn it. Paul, where was I? Oh, with Pink, and there's a passage in the. No, don't worry about it, Amanda. It wasn't you. It wasn't anybody. It was me, because I stopped, and I know better. I'm trying to know better. Anyway, but in the book, it speaks that God had 10,000 names. So who are any one of us to say that Bob isn't God's name, or it's Rachel, or it's Duplixerip, Metamucil? I don't know. It could be anything. There's 10,000 different names, or was it 10 million? I don't remember, but it was a 10 something bunch of zeros. And so God is just an energy. Sometimes, I have studied a lot of different paths, and I've taken what felt as truth, what I learned to be truth, and what didn't fit me, or didn't fit me at the time, I just let go. I didn't ascribe it a negative or positive, any adjective. It just, that doesn't fit me, but this does. So you'll hear me say Mitakuye Yuwashin. That's Lakota Sioux for all my relations. Hey, Viking, nice to see you here again, dear. And basically, it's like namaste. We're not dropping links right now, Viking. We're kind of teaching at the moment, but we'll catch you in a few at the end, if that's okay. But anyway, yeah, of course. Absolutely. I think on my About page, I have my email there. Gracie Ann. Ticky, ticky, ticky. Come here. You're up to something. I can hear that. Yep, here it comes. I don't know. Oh, I do recall somebody, Buddha, one time was having a conniption fit. And I thought it was handled. I don't remember. I just vaguely remember it. Gotcha. Thank you. All right, where are you, Pip? I don't trust you. Gracie Ann? What are you doing? You're up to something. Okay. You know, little dogs, those tiny little feet, and those long little nails, they go ticky, ticky, ticky on the linoleum. And I heard her, and it's like, didn't even know she escaped the room and went out to the kitchen. If she doesn't tell me she has to go outside, she will go and leave me a present, and I don't like presents. Not that kind, anyway. So anyway, I have completely gotten off the track, but that's okay. I remember being at Pink's in the chat and seeing somebody make a comment, and I don't remember. I thought I said something, but I don't know. But just chalk it up to somebody who was coming from a place of judgment and has no idea. It's very much ignorance, but we get preconceived notions. I loved listening to Master Co a couple nights ago say, here's a funny thing. The Lord Buddha wasn't a Buddhist. And Yeshua, well, he said Jesus wasn't a Christian. We put those labels on them. I listen to Master Co on masterco.org because he's got a lot of videos there, but on YouTube. And he's all over the internet. He's all over YouTube. There's a ton of stuff. I got to remember tomorrow I'm going to record his prosperity healing that he did a couple night times ago. And yeah, that thought just went right out the door. Master Co has a Monday, Wednesday, Friday meditation. He's in California, so it's 10 o'clock in the morning California time. For me in Texas, it's noon. And then again at 6 o'clock in the evening, California time, and 8 o'clock in the evening, my time. He starts it off with with a lecture, and then from the lecture, we'll go into the meditation. Tonight's lecture went on really long. So Miami, you're an hour after me. So when it's 8 o'clock my time, it'd be 9 o'clock your time. And I enjoy him. I think he's funny. He's a little caustic, but it's because this is what he does for a living, and he does it all over the country. If you're familiar with Tony Robbins, who I admit I do not care for, but he will share the stage with Tony Robbins, at Tony Robbins events. And, that might be me judging, but he tells you point blank, if you don't like the way he teaches, then you're not for him, because he's not going to coddle you. He's not going to baby you. You either want to be there to learn, and so some things come across a little brutal. Honesty is what I want to say. And some people can't deal with brutal honesty. They want to be babied. And it's like, I agree. I don't want to be babied. If I'm doing something wrong because I refuse to do the work, like waiting 6 weeks or whatever it took me to finally get into I love you, it's nobody's fault but my own. And he explains about his teacher, Master Chokok. I can never say his name. Chokok Sui. Chokok Sui. Yes, we go. It makes me want to turn my throat around. Well, that's okay. Qigong is wonderful. I showed Angela, who I'm sure she slept through tonight, and that's okay. But I showed her some Qigong, and she does it 2 or 3 times a day. I love Qigong. I love Tai Chi. I love Kung Fu. When we moved to Texas in 97, I thought, oh, cool, I could find a new master. No, too far away from any place to be able to find somebody who taught martial arts, and I wanted to find somebody who taught what I had already been studying, which was 7 Animal Kung Fu. No such luck. But anyway, so Monday, Wednesday, Friday, that's when Master Co does his free YouTube and Instagram. I don't think he's also doing Facebook at the same time, but he does all that at those times. So again, it would be 1 p.m. for you on Monday, and then 9 p.m. on Monday, and the same Wednesday and Friday. Fridays, he's starting to switch them up. Friday mornings was the healing, emotional release, I think, or emotional healing. I can't remember. I never seem to make the Friday morning one. But now he's switching it, because it would be Friday morning was that, and Friday night was the prosperity healing. And now what he's going to do is, because he's got people in other time zones and they're all missing out on the prosperity healing, he's going to do 1 week will be morning the emotional code and prosperity healing at night, and then the following week it's going to switch, and it'll be the prosperity healing in the morning, and then the emotional release at night. No, not on Saturday. He sells courses on his page, and he also does events, but I don't know where he does the events or how much they run on those. I'm trying to think. There are, like I said, there's quite a lot of the older videos on his, it's masterco.org. Let me write that down. So that's his website. And then just look for Master Co in YouTube. And his full name, though, is and he's been doing chronic healing since he was 24 years of age. And so since he says he was learning for 30 years, that means he's 54, and he sure the heck doesn't look it. Yeah, I was going to bug Ashley to come up if she wanted to, or just say it in the chat. And I know OG is gone, and Charlotte was asleep, and Angela stayed asleep. And Buddha, I remember you telling me long ago about your dog, and I thought it was cool. You know, people are going to judge. And that's their business. It's not mine. What you think of me is none of my business. It should never be my business. What I think of me, that's my business. In those places that I think, you know, I kind of did a little oops, whatever, and I want to kick myself in the butt, I'm getting better about that. I have improved greatly, and those are programs. My stepfather, as a child, taught me that I was worthless. I was a piece of what the dog stepped in. I was somebody else's child, not his, and without him ever saying that, he made me feel guilty for the children in Africa that were starving. And that guilt was so deeply entrenched in me that even when my youngest daughter, so I was 34, I think, maybe not that old, but somewhere in the 30s, you know, early 30s. Somebody had told me that they had gotten a CD case of a bunch of CDs because they were playing music, that somebody stole it. And I felt tremendous guilt just hit me in the gut, like I had done it, and I wasn't even on the property. So, you know, here are programs that will grab you by the throat, and I had the presence of mind to know that that's where it stemmed from, was him. You know, he did a lot of damage. And I thought I forgave him for the longest time, but every so often something would come up and I'd realize I still hate the man. I've been there, done that. Only I was the Italian. But yeah. But it's also in your solar plexus, because the solar plexus is your identity. It's your self-love there. And so yeah. No, I got literally the crud beat out of me, kicked out of me. He kicked me for not putting napkins on the dinner table when his sister and brother-in-law had came out from back east to visit us. And so I couldn't walk for a couple days because he just kicked me across the room and back, and did that several times. He was a lovely person. And in all the years, I have never had a dream about that man, not even nothing that I can remember as a child either. And then shortly after Thanksgiving, he visited. And so him being there in the dream, and he said one word, that's all he said, and he still had that attitude, like I still wasn't worth the time of day. And he just said the one thing, and then that was it. And I don't even remember what he said, but it was enough for me to go search for his sister and see if I could find her phone number. So I combed the internet and I found them. And I called up my aunt, who I hadn't seen since I was maybe 14 or 16 years old, and hadn't spoken to since then. So, and here I am, 62. And I called her up, and then she let me know that he passed. And I said, well, that's why I'm calling you, because he visited me. So I knew that was a visitation. That was one thing that my teacher told me. People who have passed on, our loved ones, and even maybe not so loved, that if you have a dream about them, it's not a dream, it is a visitation. Even one of these days when I'm feeling particularly brave, I will relate the story about Yeshua. Back in 1983. That was a very interesting experience. And I wrote the whole thing down and sent that to my teacher. And she never responded to it. But she did tell me that was a visitation, that it was not a dream. She said, you never dream about Jesus. And I spent the entire night with Yeshua. I listened to him talk to people. I held his hand sitting there on a little grassy knoll while he spoke. It was really a cool dream, and funny that, what is this? What is it? 40 years later, I still remember it. The only thing I don't remember is all the words he told me, because he laid down for me what I was supposed to do. And then there were other strange things in there. So I know that I am supposed to bring the children. That was one of the things that was most prominent. And a lot of running. So I guess I got a lot of running to do. But I guess I'm going to tell it now. It started off with me carrying a basket of stuff. And I knew that I was going to go give a pedicure. Oh, all the time. That's my father. I hear from him and I hear from Grandmother Mary all the time. I have funny stories about him too. But when I was 22, 23 years of age, or however old I was at 82, 83, when that happened, 83, I had never had a pedicure, so I really didn't know what one was. So how it was in my mind was rationalizing that I was going to go to this cabin that just sat all by itself, kind of on like a little knoll. I don't even remember any trees around it. And I knocked on the door, and the door opened, and I could feel, but couldn't see anything. And so I was let in, and we just talked. And then I sat at his feet, and I washed his feet. Didn't register at the time that I was doing like Mother Mary, or I mean, Mary Magdalene, and I was washing his feet. I sat there and he spoke to me the whole time, and he told me all these things that I was supposed to be doing, and plans and this and that. And I really wish I could remember all of those. Okay, dear, I will see you in a few. But then after that was done and I was done with his feet, I picked up my things and I turned around and I went out the door. But as the door was closing, kind of one of these things, I see this little face smiling as the door shuts. And so then I got to see his face. So how the heck was I, washing his feet while he was invisible? It was just really cool. And then I took my stuff. That's brother. But I took my stuff and I was running up and down these little green knolls, little green hills, until I got to this big, giant, gorgeous, massive oak tree with branches everywhere and sweeping down. And I went inside the oak tree and I had one of those old-fashioned iron stoves and a table and this and that. And there was 2 women standing there. One was real tall, very severe face, skinny, and reminded me of Wizard of Oz, the Wicked Witch of the West, but the teacher. And then behind her was a much shorter, red-haired woman that was very plump, and she'd just smile and nod her head. She was the yes man or yes woman. The tall, skinny Wicked Witch would be, yapping at me about something, and she'd be nodding behind her, never stepped out from around her. It was funny. And then I went to the oven, pulled the door down, and I pulled out a thing. Apparently I was making bread. And I pulled the bread out, put it on the table. That's okay, don't worry about it. But I put 3 loaves of bread on the table. And then the Wicked Witch, she said, "Who do you think you are?" And said I wasn't good enough. And then took one of the loaves of bread and just ripped it up to shreds. And I just laughed. And I said, "I don't have time for this." And so I left the bread and I took off running. And again, I'm running up and down all these little hills. And I get to where Jesus is sitting. And I sit down next to him. I sit down to his left. And I'm holding his hand. And so I just sat there and held his hand the whole time that he was speaking. And I could look out and see people on all kinds of different little hillsides. And there would be different clusters, large, small, 3, 10, 5, 4, whatever. And they were just all over scattering. And then when that was all said and done, and he told me some more stuff, I confused there, but he told me some more things. And then again, I stood up and I took off running. This must be the story of my life. And I'm running up and down the little knolls till I get to a black forest. It's like the trees are all burnt. And so I'm running between the trees and I'm weaving through the darkness till I get to the other side. And the other side's green. But there are children, and they're varying sizes, heights, ages. And so I direct them all to gather hands, to join up, to link up together, and that I'm going to lead them back through to the other side. And so I ran through, and I remember that there was one boy that was like 17 and was really tall, and I had his hand. And there were children that, maybe were 4 years old. Just like I said, all different sizes, different ethnicities, different everything. And so I'm running the children through the darkness, through that dark forest, and then taking them to the other side. and then I turn right around and I go back and I do it again. And I did that in the dream like 3 or 4 times. Oh yeah, he's just being needy. But that was the dream. And the coolest thing about it was when I woke up, my right hand still felt hot, as if I, had just let go of his hand. It's like it was still hot from holding somebody's hand all night long. So it was a really cool thing. And when I told Louise that, because I called her up as well as wrote it down to her, that's when she said that it was a visitation, that it was not a dream. And that was just really cool. And so I have never let go of that. You guys have talked about, gifts and things and things that come out, out of the top of your head or out of your mouth. And I remember one day doing something and I heard loud and clear, "Don't you know who you are? You're Miriam." I had to go look that up because it was kind of like, it's familiar. Where am I remembering that? And then it was like Miriam was the prophetess, was Moses and Aaron's sister. I was like, oh, okay. But that kind of blew my mind that day. Just out of the blue. Don't you know who you are? You're Miriam. Don't know why that was important. Poor boy. That's cool. That's really cool, Amanda. I've done that for 5 of my family members now. Lots of things have been documented, Buddha. There is a Coptic Christian church in Egypt. It's actually a temple, or monastery. I mean, it's a monastery, and they have old, original texts, original writings from people that you don't get to see. They never made it to the general public's eyes. But they tell a slightly different story than what the majority of us, through our indoctrination in religions, anyway, they've got information there that are cool. They're supposed to be putting it out on the internet, but I don't know where where to access it, what cloud or whatever, because they're expecting that in their lifetime that this monastery is going to be attacked and all of their thousands of ancient tomes, ancient writings, pre-Christian, from early Hebrew and everything, that they'll be destroyed, and then we will lose that history. Who is it that you want to look up? Because the Chinese have documentation that are dating back over 5,000 years. They had the human body mapped out over 5,000 years ago. All the vascular system, the spinal cords, the nervous system, all of that was mapped out. That's why the traditional Chinese medicine is so fascinating. But those things you might want to see if, I don't know if you work with a spirit guide or teacher. You can ask an angels. Ask the angels. They'll come in and, sure somebody will help you find that. Those kind of things, unless it was like written about, that it was a famous person like Hatshepsut or Cleopatra's children. Um, but just ask the angels. It's like, help me to find the answer to this question. When I call the angels in, they're here immediately. There are still teachers assigned to you aside from your higher self, because that's your soul. See, now that I would question, because your guardian angel wouldn't speak to anybody else besides you. At least in my experience, I should say. I have never had or heard of, because that angel is assigned to you solely. Now, your teachers, if your master teacher, master guide is okay to say, give that information to somebody else, because you're not picking up on their what do you call it? Not picking up on their language or on the message. If you're not catching into it, and then of course then there's the issue that if you were like working with somebody, you said Martin Crespo, and gave him permission, then that would be a different story. But just doing it on their own, that doesn't happen. But not knowing the circumstance, I can't say. Got to ask yourself, honey, which is greater, your trust or your fear? Michael's my buddy. I love my Michael. I still get hugs every once in a while when I ask for them or when I think about it. I remember I was probably 10, maybe 9, and I was just so proud that my name was Michelle and it was the feminine of Michael, because I just loved my Archangel Michael. Yeah, it was funny. I can't say that I have a lot of memories of much of my life. Most everything in my childhood was very traumatic and very painful. And I guess it didn't serve me to remember it, so why bother? And this is my 30th year with my hubby, and he's my best bud, and I love him to death. And every morning we say I do, and we say I do throughout the day. Yeah, I help people. I also go into people's homes to cleanse them and to chase things out, um, and I teach people how not to be afraid. Being afraid of stuff or automatically hating something, usually, in order to hate something, you've got to have a level of fear, to justify that. I'm afraid that person's going to hurt me, or I'm afraid whatever, and you hate them. There's a difference between a righteous hating of an action, but hating of a person is not. It ain't cool. And why are you crying over there? Um, but anyway, this has been fun. Uh, should we go do a raid over at Yankee Southerner um, and it'll be my first, I think it's, no, it would be my second soul raid. Soul Train. Don't ask. I don't know. Yeah, he's good, and she's in her little gumdrop hiding. She knows the word. Go to your hole, and then she goes in there. It's a soft-sided, like igloo. Looks like a gumdrop is what it looks like. It's shaped like that with a hole in it, and that's her hole. Thank you, Amanda. Yes, thank you. Big hugs. Much love to you, sweetheart. I do know about Orishas. I don't know a lot about them, Buddha, but um, yes, but I know that the Orishas they're not they're not meant to be evil. They are just part of the African traditions, old African practices, just like Native Americans have the Kachinas, and well, some tribes, have nations have the Kachinas, the Hopi, and I think the Navajo. E. And then well, in the Hindi traditions, they've got different. They even have little people, just like the Appalachians have little people. The Celts and the Welsh and the Irish, they have little people. Well, you know what? We'll just put a hedge of protection around the house. The Orishas aren't evil. Her, whatever she's doing, her intentions is where the evil is. So, what I would recommend, the police can't do anything about that, though. They can't do anything about a birth certificate. That would have to be taken up in court, and they would have to do paternity and all that other fun stuff. Her name is Yamaya. Oh, well, you still could do it. You can still contest it, but you would have to go to court for it. Police can't do anything about that. Um, but see, and I don't know if they could do. I mean, I know that there are still ways you can contest it, but I don't know. I don't know. Well, I'm not an attorney. I don't. I don't even imagine. It would be like when did she put the daughter on the birth certificate, and the if your father had already passed after the baby was born, before the baby was born, and she put, there's ways you could contest it, honey, but you want to try and talk to, see if you can find an attorney that will give you a free consultation to ask. It's like, got this situation. Ah, well, that does make a problem. I mean, the courts could order, if the ashes are put somewhere, because there's still bone fragments in the ashes. I don't know. I don't know if it would be a family or a criminal, but you can call them up and tell them, I don't know if I need a criminal lawyer or a family lawyer. But I would probably try criminal first, just because, and say, this person, named my father as the father of her daughter, and blah 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 blah. Okay, and I don't think that your DNA. Well, yeah, they could use your DNA simply because you're your father's daughter, and it would at least show that you were related to that child. And if you're not related in any way, shape, or form, then, that gives you at least some grounds to contest it. Because my only concern, and then criminal plays into it, is that she could try to come back after the family because of the house and stuff for the kid. So, well, they can do DNA testing in the criminal, but see it. I think it could be criminal. Well, that's why I'm saying check with the criminal first, because you have that avenue. And if he says or she says take it to family court, then you have to see if you can find a family court that would give you pro bono consultation, for it's like, this is the situation. I'm willing to give my DNA because I know that's my daddy, and to prove that she's not related, and that she's only doing that as a ploy to try to take our property. As far as I know, there is no law really to, you can put down whoever you want to. As far as, father goes. I mean, I don't know. Again, I am not an attorney, and this is all speculation. So just, you can't hurt to call them. It's like, say, hey, I just need to know, who do I call? Who do you recommend? This is the situation. Is it a crime? Are we going to have to legally fight them? Which you might. Yeah, exactly. And they've got to understand, these are the situations. Dad passed away. His ashes were scattered over the ocean. So there's no way to test his DNA, but we can at least see if there's a possibility match for being siblings. But she never was married to him. Ocean is one of the Orishas. Well, she scattered the ashes over the ocean, Amanda. So there's the only way is that they would have to test his children to see if there is a possibility match for relationship. Yeah. I am not understanding that question, Buddha. There we go. I lost my window. Yeah. Well, there is how would I word this? Are you familiar with the term walk-in? Either Buddha or Amanda. Um, a walk-in is usually when we'll just use me as an example. Let's say my soul is just kind of done, but the body's not ready to die, and but the soul's like, I've had enough. And so it could be at maybe a car accident and being unconscious, but it's when one soul leaves and another one walks in to take its place. And there's always a noticeable change of personality. Sometimes there's even a complete loss of memory on many levels. Even forgetting anything from a certain age on. A lot of times walk-ins do come in later in life. It's supposedly rare for it to happen on young people. But you know what? Anybody can decide, yeah, I think I want to sit this one out after all. Yeah, I don't know. At the moment, I don't know what I could express with that. Um, but one of these days, Buddha, we could sit down. My email is in the um, my email is in the about info, and send me an email. I'll give you my number, and we can chat and see what we come up with. So, Amanda, when you had the brain surgery, you switched souls. It's just easier than trying to do it this way with me talking and then you trying to type everything out, and you only have 200 characters, and so yeah, we've often speculated that I was a walk-in because I have so much amnesia, and there's issues with that, because there's just so many broken pieces. That makes me kind of think about some possibilities. Did they tell you what kind of block, Buddha? Um, we can have blocks on all kinds of things. It can be in an organ. It could be in the different energy centers. It could be in a meridian. It can be in various places. It can be due to a traumatic experience, a physical illness. Trying to think. Physical illness, traumatic experience, disease. A disease can create a block. Fear creates a block. Uh, Programming creates a block because somebody will, tell you this is the way it is, and that's the way you believe, and it blocks you off of any possibility of knowing the truth, or receiving the truth. Um, something to talk about. I mean, there's a lot of things there. Um, I do plan on having kind of like using Zoom for private consultations and stuff to work out and try to give like different exercises, routines to eliminate things. I started, according to my teacher, touching people at 4 and talking about spirit and the angels and stuff at 4. I don't know any of that. That was what she told me. And I was in my 20s, I think, or maybe even close to my 30s when she let me in on that secret. It's just somebody's point of view, Buddha. Don't worry about it. Make up your mind that that's their opinion and I don't need it. And just when they mention it, say, oh, cool, and let it go. You're becoming attached to that, and that can be a block as well. But so, yeah. So where I was going with that. So at 4, I was doing that. Woke up at 7, became alive, whatever, became aware of life. Started meditating then. And in the meditations, because we did it every week. And so from 7 till 19, with a year off because of having a baby and getting married, I still meditated on my own. It's the only thing that kept me from committing suicide, because I had a very abusive husband at 18. So anyway, we learned psychometry. We learned astral projection. We talked about healing. Louise, every time she would now or then, it varies. I may not meditate for 2 days. I may meditate 4 times in a day. It just varies on when I want to connect. And if I'm doing something like I paint people's energy fields, right? So when I sit down with a person and I paint them or do the pastels, I kind of do I'll call it a split-second meditation to tune in and be centered, be grounded, be present, and then go in and start doing what I see. One of my goals for this year is that I want to expand what I call aura mapping, and I want to expand that into spirit painting, where I can paint your soul or paint your guides if they're around, or maybe grandma's coming in, and so whatever I see, I paint that, and if it looks like one of your family members, we could go from there. Excuse me. Oh, good. I'm not out of water. No, I'm not familiar with that name. Excuse me. I have channeled the Blessed Mary, and I've done automatic writing with her, and I call her Grandma. And so I just killed it. So anyway, and sometimes I zone off because I'm experiencing energy. Somebody talking or a feeling or whatever. Squirrel. Nah. People tell you things like that because they're either trying to protect you from something that they have no idea about, when you channel, you have protection. Number one, you're a good person, a good soul, a good heart, and you're channeling. You're not going to invite, Chucky the Clown in or something. And when you're training for it, you're going to work with your higher guides, with your higher self, with your master teachers. Your guardian angel doesn't really do a lot of communicating. They're there to pick you up and to take you home, and they're not the big communicators. There are other angels that communicate, deliver messages. I can tell you from experience that if I hear certain things mentioned, people claiming spiritual awareness, I don't know what term I want to use, and they're telling you that things are X, Y, and Z, and those are incongruent with what I've physically experienced, I just smile and let them go, because they're either not going to be willing to hear the truth, or they're in it for prestige, for money, and for fame and glory, I guess. Not for genuinely wanting to help people. And that's what I'm here for. I'm here to bring the children. I know that. I know that I'm here to teach and to guide people to the truth. My husband thinks that I channel 90% of the time. It will flow through. And when it's flowing through, I'm hearing what I'm saying, but it never sticks in my head. So 15 minutes after I've said it, if you ask me, can you repeat that? It's going to be, huh? So I always tell people, if I'm talking, please pay attention, and maybe you can tell me what I forgot. But fear is meant to protect us, right? Be afraid of fire. Well, really, you don't need to be afraid of it. How about respect it? How about know its limitations and yours? Like, it'll burn me, but it makes a lovely fire to warm my heart, to sit around a campfire with friends, to talk and laugh and sing and make jokes and whatever else, dance. It cooks us food and heats up our water so we can make coffee. Pendulums. You got some people that think pendulums are evil. It's a crystal, or it's a piece of wood on a chain, on a string. They used to tie a wedding ring to see the sex of a baby on a piece of thread. It's an extension of your subconscious mind, like doing muscle testing in kinesiology, nutritional response testing. You can touch specific parts of the body. Hold that thought. Really? Lego. You can touch specific areas of the body and know that, with somebody doing the muscle testing, that I'm low on vitamin C, or I'm low on vitamin E, or, parathyroid's not doing so good on one side versus the other. And you can test. And it's based on the electromagnetics of the body. Remember, I've said in the past, we have 1.4 volts of electricity in every cell. So that's 70,000 volts of electricity that we're capable of having. There's science behind it that shows that when you are engaging a specific point that a specific muscle will react to it or not react. It will either become weak or stronger. So, I mean, the fear is just a way to control people. Make them afraid so you can control them. And if you're not afraid, you can't be controlled. You know, we see that every day in the news, you know, regardless of what anybody's political, you know, path is, any intelligent person who watches and really listens to the words, you know, and spiritual people do that. Now, don't get me wrong, there are religious people and there are spiritual people. And I've noticed that not always the same thing. And I've seen quote unquote religious people go off the deep end and they spout the biggest fear-mongering tactics. Spiritual people will stop and listen because they recognize the truth that it's your path, it's personal to you. And all paths lead to one place. No matter what you think, they all lead to one place. It all begins in one energy. Source, divine, God, Father, Mother, God, the great creator, the universe. Pick a name. How about Bob? So when you can become self-aware and realize that this emotion's coming up because this is being spoken about. Okay, I'm having a direct reaction to that. It's an emotion. Chances are it's challenging my belief system. It's challenging my level of fear. So recognizing that then makes you go, okay, so am I reacting out of a sense of fear? What am I really afraid of? Well, I was told that this was bad. Does that make sense? If you become aware of your own words and you say something, it's like, why did I say that? It's not what I really feel. It just came out that way. Okay, so no, I'm feeling this way. This is what I really mean. It's just really taking the moment to listen. When you really listen and not get emotionally involved in the diatribes that people are tossing like little darts at everything and everybody, you can start to see a pattern and go, well, you know what? I don't really believe that because, wait a minute, that just makes no sense at all. And it doesn't jive with this over here. So you can see what's true, what's not, and who's trying to rattle your chains the most. Or actually, I should say rattle your cage. Because if you live with any measure of fear, you're trapped in a cage of beliefs that probably aren't even your own, that you got from hearing grandma say something when you were sitting on the floor watching TV. And there was something on the TV, and grandma said something, and you put the two together, and that created a visual image and a sense of fear and foreboding. Being at the dinner table, and somebody makes a comment. My stepfather, why are you always serving me fish? You know I hate fish. I do not like fish. But I don't know how old I was, but my mom told me the story, and I think I might have been 4 years old, 5 years old. And to this day, I don't like fish. I can eat sushi, but I had to learn to eat it. Tuna fish, I will get the shivers on. I have bought fish because I really want to cook it, but I can't cook it because I don't like fish. Yet I love cod when it's the fish and chips. What was that one? Long John Silver. I loved their fish and chips. But it was probably because I really loved the malt vinegar and I would just douse it. So yeah. I'm going to be here for you, Buddha, and I will help anybody that wants it. We can work together and talk and see just what trees need to be shook and what fences need to be taken down and what mountains we need to climb. Because we need to be out in the brilliant sunshine and the beautiful moonlight and fresh air. And not let some imaginary boogeyman make us afraid of the dark. Well, again, Buddha, what you're doing is allowing a fear to take over from over you, and an anger, right? Because there's an injustice here, and the thing is that police don't deal with any of that stuff. They don't. They only deal with crimes committed where property has been stolen, damaged, violence has been committed, trespassing. And the state, they're not going to do anything either. All they do is take the money and file the papers. You have to go to an attorney. I could have put, I don't know, I was looking for a name, and I don't care for the man, and John Travolta popped up in my head. But I mean, I could have feasibly put John Travolta down as my one of my daughter's fathers. They're not going to care. They're not going to question you. So, lousy system. I mean, that's really what it is. But in order to try to rectify it, just talk to your criminal attorney friend. Say, let's go have some lunch. I just got some questions for you. And all they can tell you is, I don't handle that. Well, can you tell me who would? I mean, don't sweat it, honey. Because do you feel how you're churning in with that? You're lowering your vibration with that. Well, I mean, call, lunch, whatever. I'm just saying is you're giving power to that person by becoming entangled in the emotion of how the heck can that happen? So you have to cut, disintegrate, throw it in the violet flame. Because those are tendrils that are attacking you. You're allowing it in. Start asking for the hierarchy of angels to be present with you here and now. And ask them to form a hedge of protection around you, always you first, around your mom and your home. Do that when you wake up in the morning, and do that when you go to bed at night. You keep reaffirming that energy. And do not give them any power. Anytime you look to them, you think about them, you're giving them power. Imagine the angels standing all the way around your home with shields that are mirror. And as they face out, the mirror reflects back anything that comes at them. But you got to get the peace in the heart. Do the I love you in the mirror. Get the peace in the heart. And then stop driving yourself crazy with the what ifs and the whys. And it's like, okay, what are my options? What can I do? All right, so protect myself, protect my mom, protect my home. You always do you first. Because if you leave yourself out in the open while you're protecting everybody else, you become a target. You leave yourself open to possibilities. But you protect yourself first, and then you start protecting everybody else. It's like being on the airplane and that air thing, oxygen mask comes down. They tell you, put it on you first, then help somebody else. Because you can't breathe. So how can you help somebody else do it? But like I said, you've got to protect you first. And just do what I've suggested, find your own words. But call the hierarchy of angels. There are, you've got the seraphim, the cherubim, you have the thrones and the dominions, you have the principalities, and, I always forget that one. The powers. You've got the archangels and the angels. I know there's something else. But there are all of these different I don't know who said you can't do that. But you have to protect you first. Because if you are trying to protect your mom and something attacks you and you are unprotected, then your mom gets attacked because that protection goes away. Do you understand? Okay, I misunderstood you. Just order of operations. Protect Buddha first. Protect mom next. Protect home. Of course, if mom's in the home, you can protect the home first because mom's inside. And then you can protect mom. See, I can be silly. My teacher, when I was 7, this was what she taught us. She said, I ask for protection, guidance, and direction, and the guiding white light to be in and around myself. And then I would say, and to be in and around my kids, my parents, my grandparents, my aunts and uncles, blah, blah, and I would I would lay there for 2 hours naming everybody. Well, there's always fighting fire with fire. Put red brick dust underneath your doormat. But anyway, and then let's see. Camphor. You can buy those camphor little squares. You could place camphor in the corners of her bedroom. Of course, if she doesn't like the smell, that might be a problem, but camphor's great. Keeps things away. Or put it in the windowsill. Break off a little piece. Doesn't have to be a lot. But the red brick dust underneath the doormat. And I know that there's something else, but I can't think of it. Yeah, camphor. Vicks Vapor Rub, I think, has camphor in it. So take a drop, If it does, just put some Vicks on the windowsill and in the corners along the floorboard kind of thing. And you could even do it underneath the bed frame. You know, just smear a line. But again, look at your words. It just upsets me because they got graveyard dirt, etc., etc. You're allowing it to upset you. Think about somebody who's at war. You know, they have to be calm, cool, and collected and not allow stuff to affect them, or it affects their ability to think and to countermeasure or to be preemptive. So instead of being upset, honey, I know that, but these men are at war and they're trying to kill one another. They have to stay calm to be able to think clearly and to be able to plan. So you have to not become embroiled in the emotions, and they're being fear driven. So that is what creates, that's what gives them power. Remember, I know I said it on Pink's channel a couple times. We talked about it, and at some point the last week or two, I talked about this, how powerful the mind is. And there was a man who locked himself in a refrigerator truck, right? One of the reefer trucks, the trailer. And, you know, for whatever, however it happened, the door was shut and he was locked inside. It was an empty reefer and he was stuck in there and banging on the doors and nobody coming, and he was getting tired. And then he started thinking, you know, oh my goodness, this is a refrigerated, you know, trailer. I'm going to freeze to death. And then he started thinking more and more about it. And so his body took that on, and his body started getting cold. And he was scribbling in the dust and everything, you know, that it was getting colder and colder, and that he knew he was going to die. And he just kept going on with this. And well, come next morning, they found him dead from hypothermia. He willed himself to die out of fear, out of believing something that was just totally in his imagination, instead of remaining calm. So this is what you need to do. You need to remain calm. Just be calm. And just think, okay, I'm protected and I'm protecting my mom. I'm protecting the house. I'm calling in protection. So it's not physically me doing it, because it's not coming from your body. You are putting the request out and letting the universe answer. The angels show up, whatever warriors you bring in. Using little things, because even if it were just imaginary, the camphor, saying this is to help protect, it's like the placebo in a sense. I just know it works, but you know, it's calming for some people. And camphor is, you know, it's that mentholatum smell. And when we were sick and Mom would rub it on our chest, you know, there was something kind of comforting about that. But you know, you have the internet at your fingertips. Do searches for, you know, things to do to combat this and that. You know, what can I do to protect myself from this? You know, and talk to people. You know, maybe Paul over on his channel, on the Northern Yankee Southerner, or even on the Walking the Path. You know, ask him, and you know, he might have an idea. You know, he'll usually refer back to me, but you know, we're there to help each other. So just do not, Yankee Southerner. That's his channel. That he and I are going to be doing a couple series together. We're going to do a spirit talk with Paul and Soul. And so we're going to talk about all manner of things. I'm glad. Yeah, it is. It's 11 o'clock here. So maybe we should call it a night. We've really covered a lot. Talk about energy. So I'm going to, though, before anybody leaves, I'm going to ask for a moment of silence. And if everybody just take a nice, cross your ankles to get that hemisync going on so that right and left brain gets to work together and to synchronize. And remember, the tip of your tongue goes roof of the mouth behind the teeth. It kind of feels like it's poking here. And just hold that there. Breathe in through the nose. Give it a nice hold. And then, and on the exhale, just kind of hold. And then inhale. That helps to calm everybody down and gets us, because we were getting up there. I was feeling that beta hit. 222, awesome numbers. It was for just a second there. It was 2, 22, and 22 seconds. I love it. I ask for the hierarchy of angels to be present with us here and now, to surround us all in the perfect light, to bring peace into the hearts, comfort and serenity to the minds, unconditional love, joy, and kindness to the soul. In the name of all that is right and good, the I am that I am. Let us go in peace. And so it is. Hey, Brian. How are you, sweetheart? I hope that helps, Buddha. Ashley, if you're still here. Amanda, if you're still here. Hope I didn't put you to sleep. Namaste, Buddha. Sweet dreams. May the angels cradle you in their arms. So what you doing, Brian? Oh, there you are. I see you. Hey, Brian. How are you?
Good.
Did you have anything you wanted to share? We were just getting ready to take off for bed.
No, just chilling.
Just chilling?
Yeah.
Did you catch any of the show this evening?
Yeah.
Oh, well, cool. Do you got any final words for us? Anything that you're grateful for?
Not
Like,
really.
not really? See how I
No.
put you on the spot? That's okay, Brian. Much love to you.
You too.
We are going to call it a night because we've been at this for almost 2.5 hours. It's like, oh goodness. Who'd have thunk I could
225
talk?
right. 226 right now.
Yep. Yes. So it's definitely
I've been trying to catch OG, but he's been offline right now.
Oh, well, Yankee should be up. Did you check out Yankee?
Yeah.
Because he said he was going to go live.
I'll see if they're alive right now.
Oh, cool. Well, I'm going to run over there and bug him and say goodnight to him.
All right.
All right, sweetheart. Well, you have a blessed night. And I will be back on tomorrow night, but tonight is the last night of our stream. No, Walking the Path isn't on tonight. He's on his other channel. That's the Yankee Southerner, the one I typed for you.
All right.
All right. Good night, Brian. I will see you tomorrow. Night, everybody. I love you. Sweet dreams.